France's continued exploitation of Africa. The tables are turning. Recent events in West Africa, such as the July 26th coup in Niger, underscore the growing resistance of Francophone nations to France's neo-colonial influence. As African countries increasingly push for genuine independence, the power dynamics between France and its former colonies are shifting. At the heart of this shift is the exploitation inherent in Francafrique, the term used to describe France's ongoing control over African resources. France depends heavily on nuclear energy, with 68% of its electricity coming from nuclear plants. Niger, a major supplier of uranium, provides 19% of the uranium needed for France's nuclear industry. Yet, only 14.3% of Niger's population has access to a power grid, highlighting the disparity between the resources extracted and the well-being of local people. This situation reflects a broader pattern of exploitation across Africa, where foreign powers, including France, have long extracted wealth without benefiting the local populations. The legacy of Francafrique. The legacy of Francafrique is one of exploitation and control. France has used military force, economic pressure, and political manipulation to maintain its hold over its former colonies. This system has resulted in widespread poverty and underdevelopment in many African nations, including Niger. Leaders like Burkina Faso's Ibrahim Traoré have spoken out against the enduring legacy of neo-colonialism. At the Russia-Africa Summit in 2023, Traoré condemned Africa's resource wealth juxtaposed with its poverty, criticizing African leaders for perpetuating dependence on the West. His remarks reflect a growing frustration with the way the continent has been subjugated by foreign powers, particularly through economic systems like the CFA franc. The CFA franc system, which ties the currencies of 14 African countries to the French treasury, has long been a tool of France's economic dominance. Originally established after World War II, the CFA franc ensures that African countries cannot influence their own currency values, keeping them economically dependent on France. This system has hindered African nations' economic growth, preventing them from using their own resources to benefit their people. Military interventions and economic exploitation. Since independence, France has intervened militarily in Africa over 50 times, often to preserve governments that are favorable to French economic interests. These interventions have not only maintained political control, but also safeguarded France's privileges, including exclusive rights to African resources and military equipment sales. For example, 36.4% of France's gas supply comes from Africa, highlighting the continent's role in sustaining French power. Furthermore, French companies dominate African industries, from energy to communications. France has used state-backed entities like Coface to guarantee its exports to African markets, further entrenching its economic influence. While African nations have vast natural resources, these continue to benefit French companies rather than the local populations. The path to genuine independence. Africa's push for independence has gained momentum, but the challenges are substantial. Western-backed civil democracies have often failed to deliver real improvements in African security and prosperity, leaving the door open for alternative partnerships, such as with Russia or China. The West's reluctance to acknowledge the systemic exploitation that has shaped Africa's development has only fueled the shift toward a more multipolar world order. For Africa to truly break free from its colonial past, it needs transformative leadership that can forge a path to self-reliance. The lessons from nations like Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco, who opted out of the CFA franc system, show that independence is possible with the right economic policies. The exploitation of Africa's resources by former colonial powers has left deep scars. The legacy of colonialism is evident in the wealth of cities like Brussels, which was built on the exploitation of the Congo under King Leopold II. This historical context underlines the hypocrisy of Western nations that lecture on human rights while benefiting from centuries of oppression. Africa's future lies in shedding the remnants of colonialism and developing its own path toward independence. While military governments often face challenges, the long-term solution to Africa's problems will come from leaders who can break free from the legacy of exploitation and chart a course toward true self-reliance and prosperity. Can African leaders who ascended to power through fraudulent elections backed by Western support ever take meaningful steps toward liberating Africa from the grip of neo-colonial?
Join Diaspoint to explore public views on key events shaping Africa. We highlight governance successes and challenges, promoting awareness and inclusive participation. Your voice matters in Africa's transformation. Follow us and share our content. Diaspoint, the African diaspora engaged in Africa's future.